pretty be good. And can I get a date on Friday? And if you're busy, I wouldn't mind Saturday day. And pretty be good. And can I get a date on Friday? And if you're busy, I wouldn't mind Saturday.
My hair is a storyteller of an unknown heritage. It's thick, full of volume, soft, but don't touch it without my permission. My hair.
Alright, it's your man, Who Man? And right now we're about to interview Be Good from Chicago. And it's the support gallery where we use resources to stage the voices of the world. See if she answers this time.
Hello?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, PJ.
Hey, how you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Right now, I'm recording this, and this is what I call the support gallery, and it's where we use the resources provided to stage the voices of the world.
Okay, cool.
You know, so I'm just gonna ask you a couple questions. All right, so we'll start off with, what is your name and what is it that you do?
Okay, well, my stage name is Be Good. That's B hyphen good, so Be Good. And what I do is, if you can consider a form of hip hop, I basically take poetry and mix them with certain sounds of hip hop, alternative, and neo soul sound, and create songs out of them.
Right. So it's kind of like a spoken word, some people might say.
Yeah, like for my definition of spoken word, it's from like a literal definition. Any audio recording. So like when I'm doing any audio song, I consider it spoken word. But when like I'm on the page or on the stage, it's performance poetry for me.
Right. And your ego kind of alters within the studio versus the stage. It kind of makes sense. So what got you started? What's your inspirations?
Well, I just started initially writing. I wrote at a very young age. I would say to like third grade, I guess, around that time. One of my sisters, she used to do poetry, and one night I decided to copy her, and I got some paper and then started writing. And ever since then, I've been the poet of my house. I started it more seriously in high school after joining a talent show and performing for my very first time during sophomore year. Did really good. Actually got an award for that.
Yeah.
I was known for posting a lot of, back when MySpace was the thing.
Right.
I posted like my poems a week, and I got like a following, a little small following. Then eventually, there's this poetry club where I submitted some of those poems there. Oh, you should really join the club. And next thing you know, like I'm the president of that club. And after graduating there, I started a slam there that still continues to this day. And it's just been a thing. And I'm actually in school for it now. I'm a senior at Columbia College Chicago and getting my BA in poetry.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Like, I've heard that term getting thrown around within the poetry society. This is like the second time I'm hearing it. Slam. What is slam?
Okay, slam. It's a long history, but slam was started in Chicago. I would say from what I remember, I think back in the 80s. By this guy named Mark Smith. And what he did was basically got some poetry, some people to listen to poetry, drew venues. And what they started off with was literally two poets in a ring going against each other. And it was basically what he was basically trying to do was get the audience, people to listen to poetry in a new way, and that's how it started. It's blown from Chicago, this big thing, and been everywhere nationally.
So,
It's slam poetry. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I just wanted to say, so that's kind of where it's interesting to hear because it sounds like that's where battle rap originated from as well.
Yeah, like Queen the Ring or something like that.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. So slam is the competition wise of performance poetry. Like there's points, you have judges, you have rounds. It's a whole competition. And versus like regular sets is no competition. You perform. Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah, it
But
sounds.
slam is the competition.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. Slam poetry. I mean, it's something that I got to look into. So,
Hmm.
what are some of your like your influence, your favorite poets?
You know, I gravitate to basically anything that's good, anything that's around, anything I can get my hand to. The good thing about going to, a university to study poetry, you get introduced to a whole different type of set of poets. I've been introduced to poets like Terrence Hayes and what else? A bunch of performance poets. One the title, I forgot her name. I love her so much. The poet that I love wrote a book called Wine for Shotgun, and that kind of inspired me to go forth with slam
Right.
because of the way she wrote. She wrote very, very bluntly, very strong. Her name was Marty McConnell, and I believe she's from Chicago, and she wrote very bluntly, very boldly. And with slam, a lot of the poems are really about yourself and personal poems, and I really gravitate to that.
Right. And I could tell like listening to your music it's very personal things that, stem from your personal life, I should say.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I could say you're very precise with that, very on point with that. Um
definitely.
um what is your favorite poem?
Poem of all time, or
Poem of uh yours. Poem of yours.
of mine? Is that it? Of mine?
Yeah.
Okay. I would have to say, let's see. I think the poem that I sent you is called White Girl Weave. And I say that because it was one of the poems I did. I actually had a class entitled Anatomies of Slam, was ran by Jacob Victorine. And we were doing writing slam poems. In one unit, we had to write comedy, poetry and comedy. So that poem was a long joke.
Oh.
And I'm never a funny person. I never thought I could pull it off. And that one poem surprised me the most because I didn't think I could pull off comedy and jokes in poems. And that one surprised me, and that's why it's my favorite.
Yeah, you did pull that off though. It sounded I could see the picture, you know.
Mhm.
It really did paint a picture for me with that song. It sounded very fun,
Thank you.
and it kept me interested in is you can't really say that for I'm not into too many poets. I'm into the older poets like, Gil Scott and the Last Poets and you
Hmm.
know um but as far as modern poetry,
Amir
I
Baraka.
say again.
Amir Baraka.
No, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, but like we had even had those guys a part of our curriculum as well. We
Really,
had to study certain sections, so even those guys.
really. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's pretty cool. Um,
Mhm.
what do you think your music? Well, I don't really want to disrespect it by calling it music, but it's kind of like what you incorporated the poetry with the music. So,
Mhm.
what do you think your music says to the people?
That's a good question. Yeah. So my goal, I think, is because I believe like one of the main problems with music today, especially hip hop, like I was a big time hip hop fan, and I feel like sometimes the problem with hip hop is that the poetry is missing out of it. So what if I take this, what I have, to literally put the poetry back into hip hop? What would happen? You know,
Right.
like to literally have that. What will happen? Because poetry is lyric driven. You know, so like I have to be like more intense with my words
Right.
and more critical of my words. So if I actually put the poetry in hip hop, what will be the end result? And I do use different type of sounds, but mainly I'm focused on hip hop because I'm such a big hip hop fan, and I think my music is trying to see through that experiment, and also to basically like share in with the human experience and paint that.
Right. Right, because there's always somebody relating to you that could relate to something that you've experienced.
Nice.
Um, yeah. I was talking to somebody. I did an interview earlier. We was kind of
Mm-hmm.
discussing the same thing, and basically it was like, yeah, I'm trying to paint a picture, or kind of like be some type of role model because music is very sensitive. It's one of the many, no, not even many things. It's one of the most vital things that can influence people. You know,
Right.
I think it's the most powerful thing. I don't know. Some people might say fashion is, but I really think music is very influential, and we would be lost without it.
Definitely, most definitely, because like music, when you change a certain like song, or it brings you to a certain mood, it transforms you to a different memory, like brings you to a different time. Like music, it just has it. I was just talking to one of the artists I work with, Andre Taylor. We was listening to some old like 80s, 90s R&B. Like, man, this music make you want to fall in love, like be in love in your emotions.
Right.
And music does have that effect, the certain moods, and that's why I love the idea of like using my poetry with music. I can get to change and set the mood based off the instrumental I use, and it could complement my poem.
Right. Right. Most definitely, and I could tell
Mm-hmm.
that within your music. Is there any artists right now that are that you notice that are accomplishing this, or that can relate, that you think that might be able to relate to you and your music?
Wow. And I would say the closest to like from what I hear that kind of I guess is trying to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. Um, Honestly, I would say a lot of independent artists I actually personally know. Um, Being in the independent field, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Um, I just read this article yesterday by Jazzy Jeff, and he said like basically independent artists are the future because with an independent artist, you're not kind of like pressured like other artists, a mainstream artist, to work on something that everybody is supposed to like.
Right.
When you're an independent artist, you focus on let me just make music and get my fans. You know what I'm saying? Like make music that you like and make music that the people will listen to.
Right. Well, not even that though. It's kind of like you making it for yourself, and just people just admire. That's one of
Yeah.
the many reasons why I'm doing this whole hashtag support gallery thing,
Mhm.
is because it's a
Yeah.
platform for people to get their voices heard. It doesn't. I don't care what it is that they do. And
Mhm.
following this interview, I'll be doing a review. So it's like the
Mhm.
interview, then it's the review, and giving people that exposure that they deserve. Because a lot, like,
Mhm.
I'd rather be in the independent industry. I
Mhm.
it just people just deserve more than what is given, and I'm
Right.
kind of making like a channel for people to go through to accomplish that and get a little bit more exposure. Everybody's
Hmm.
like, I tell people all the time, they're like, yeah, why are you doing these free reviews? You probably shouldn't do them. I'm like, and that's why what I'm doing is going to be beneficial, is because everybody is for self, you know?
Right.
Every
Exactly. And plus, and thank you for even doing this. This is a big step because we have to support each other. It's like big companies, the reason why they work because they have a team, and all independent people should have some type of team,
right,
to get out there. Like we have no excuse. We in the virtual world, man.
right,
Like we need to use that to our max ability. We have to. And people can't complain about like, oh, hip hop is missing this, wow, the good music. It's all in the independent industry.
right,
Independent is the place to go. If you want to look for your sound, the sound that you want, it's in there.
right, right. All right. So, what do you think your music says to you, or your poems say to you?
Uh, my poems to me, they're exploring every bit of me. I feel that my poems are really vulnerable, honestly. Like, there's no, like, really no filter, honestly.
Right,
I want my poems to be, I want to share stuff with the audience because people like me don't talk. I used to be like a very, very, very shy child, and poetry gave me that strength to be more confident, to be more sociable, and I have to, continue to do this to like help people like me, people who were in that spot who didn't feel good enough, who didn't have a voice. And poetry, I'm paying homage to what poetry did for me. And it's such a blessing to have poetry in my life. And I feel like truly it's my purpose. And for me not to do it, it really is a dishonor and
right,
disservice to everybody out there like me.
right. So, I want to ask you. So you do poetry, and
Hmm.
a lot of people like to say that poetry, when poetry meets hip hop, it's just conscious. It's just labeled
Hmm.
conscious music. So, to kind of like give people their own, because you don't want to put anyone in a box. How
Hmm.
do you uh from when you write your poetry and you go into the studio, how do you write it to the music, or do you write your poetry first and then read it over with feeling, or how does that work for you, that process?
Well, all the songs I have now, I wrote the poems first and then got the beat, customized how I wanted to sound. Like for this new project I'm doing, it's called 10 Months. It was kind of inspired by 90s sound, and the whole title 10 Months was inspired by development. Like for my album cover, I used my baby picture, so it was only right to have a 90s inspired sound. But going back to your question,
Right.
like I don't know, like the conscious, like that's where you get a slippery slope at. Wow, like
Do you and do you mind being called conscious, or do you think it's something else?
well, I don't mind being called conscious, but there has to be a yin and yang to everything. Honestly, to be a true human being, you have to have the straight, clean cut side and the raunchy, edgy side. You have to have both to be a complete human. Um, like to be totally conscious. If you think about conscious, you are aware of every part of you.
Right.
That's what's conscious to me. You've been aware of every part. Like honestly, if I wrote a whole mixtape about all the struggles of black people, that's gonna take all day. That's gonna take me. That's my whole career, basically.
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? There has to be a balance. You have to have both the good and bad. You have to have all of it together to make it, because that's real. And how I come to write, it has to be authentic to me. Like I'd rather somebody who like let's say is quote unquote like a non conscious person if they're not conscious, quote, conscious, I'd rather them write how they really write instead of trying to front being conscious.
Right.
Be yourself. It's like the oldest advice in the book. Just be yourself and you'll be good 100% of the time.
Right. Which that kind of like leading me in my next question. How do you get in that mood or that feeling? What feeling do you have when you're inspired to write the most?
Man, like, let's see. When I write, I just feel like it needs to be said. Like things that I've been pondering on, and I feel like, I maybe should say that. That's when I know it's time to write. The best advantage I have as a writer, most people say, like, man, I don't have the words for it. My job is to find the words for the unspeakable. And also to come up with concepts that are fresh, new, and maybe a new perspective on a certain subject that everybody's been through. Offer something new to the world.
Right. Do you have you already mentioned the 10 months. That's the next project that you're working on. And your current project right now that you have available?
Pre-write? Yes.
Pre-write.
That's available on DatPiff.
Pre-write. All right. Any upcoming events that you have?
Oh, wow. Yes, I have actually 2 events. It's posted on my fan page at www.facebook.com/BeGoodThePoet. And I have 2 events. One slam I'm doing in Dalton, Illinois, and also my birthday celebration in Chicago on the 19th of April. So that's my birthday celebration on April 19th, and the slam competition is on April the 26th, so like a week away from each other, and that's all posted on my fan page on Facebook.
Okay. And that's that would be where people could find you, and I'll have you inbox me for like further details so we can post that under the video whenever I post it. And last but not least, do you have any advice for people that are into for the younger generation, mainly people that are watching, whoever this may pertain to? Do you have any advice?
Yes. Go for your dreams. You'll never be wrong. And also notice that your dream, in order to make a dream a reality, you have to work hard at it. You have to make certain sacrifices. Like, for example, me going to school for this was a very hard decision. Like, I had family members say, no, go for something else, something else, a little more professional. I'm like, I will be unhappy in a certain situation, but I know that this is what I want to do. So I made that sacrifice, made that decision, and decided to get a degree in poetry. And like, if you really want it, you're going to make it work. What separates people.
What are some things that benefit with going to school for poetry? Like, what jobs are you able to go to? Like, do you get like writing jobs? Can you go to a writing company or to be a writer, write books, or?
Yeah, like for example, like certain jobs that actually got offered for recently to host workshops at this one poetry venue for small children, and I thought, oh, that's just what I want to do, teach other people how to do poetry. Also with poetry, of course, you have the independent grind of making books and writing columns. You become editors of certain magazines, and I know in Chicago this is a big poetry scene here.
Right.
So that's a good thing. And certain colleges, like my college, they have a whole center where you can start a portfolio, reach out to other people, network. And my school is really big on network. And plus, all the faculty are currently working in their field.
Right.
So if you like poetry major, if you audio guy, like they have all the people there you can talk to for the best advice and best mentorship there.
Unlimited jobs. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up with that. If you know anyone who might want to get in contact with Be Good, I will be posting the links below the video. And this is the support gallery, using the resources used to stage the voices of the world. And you as well, Be Good, if you know anybody that might be interested in this opportunity for, of course, a free review and free interview, then let me know. We'll stay in contact.
Definitely.
Most definitely. So I just want to say peace.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
All right, bye.
Hey, pretty be good, and can I get a date on Friday? And if you're busy, I wouldn't mind Saturday day. Hey, pretty be good, and can I get a date on Friday? And if you're busy, I wouldn't mind Saturday.
My hair is a storyteller of an unknown heritage. It's thick, full of volume, soft, but don't touch it without my permission. My hair is zigzag and loose curly strands that grow up and out. So this is what I actually look like. Since I was 5, relaxers washed it down with acid to make it slick and straight. And I wondered after so long why my wide nose and thick lips felt like they didn't belong. My hair is a protein of revolutionary beauty. Madam C.J. Walker has just fainted somewhere right now. The occasional heat and extensions, but no relaxers for me. I hope I'm making my ancestors smile. My hair is an instant party. It's a funk bass and disco. It's the scatting and blue notes of jazz. It's the scratch on that one record that accidentally made hip hop. It's the lost lyrics to an ancient African song that I'm starting to piece together. I disagree with India Ari. My puffy, my curls, my shrinkage, my frizzy, my fluffy, my tangle, my untangle, my fro is all that is me.
Hey, pretty be good, and can I get a date on Friday? And if you're busy, I wouldn't mind Saturday day. Hey, pretty be good, and can I get a date on Friday? And if you're busy, I wouldn't mind Saturday day.
My puffy, my curls, my shrinkage, my frizzy, my fluffy, my tangle, untangle, my fro. My puffy, my curls, my shrinkage, my frizzy, my fluffy, my tangle, untangle, my fro. My puffy, my curls, my shrinkage, my frizzy, my fluffy, my tangle, untangle, my fro. My puffy, my curls, my shrinkage, my frizzy, my fluffy, my tangle, untangle, my fro.